Let's have some fun.
Absolutely. Welcome, welcome, everybody.
Good morning.
I hope you
Good
guys are
afternoon.
all doing great.
Good morning.
Morning. So, everybody's week starting with a bang, I hope.
Good morning.
Perfect. So, welcome again to our how-to session. For those who are new, it's an open forum for exchange, and now basically we get to take turns. You raise your hand, you can ask any question, and we will go over the conversation so we can all share, grow into the share. Again, everything that we do here is up for review on our newsletter, and I'm going to be putting a few links in the conversation so that we can all join in. We can all use those links to have access to these resources. Good for everybody so far? Perfect. Um, we'll open up the room for questions. I have also Robert in the chat for those who are new, answering questions there. So if you do not necessarily want to raise your hand, openly ask your questions, you can ask them directly to the chat. So with that said, we'll start with questions. If you have any or shares that you would want to bring forward. If not, yes, last time we had a suggestion for a case study that I will start, and we can time into the questions as we usually do for those who are accustomed to this environment. So, any questions to start with? Anybody? Going
Just
once?
ready for your training.
Okay, so sold right away then. So we'll go for the training. I think it was a very good question that Audrey brought up last time, how to use the tool for an email onboarding strategy or sequence. And I think that going through that exercise would be good. Go ahead, Robert. You have a question or share?
And then, yeah, no, not that I have a question, but in the chat there, Willie's asking perhaps after this we could show them how to add a video on the website.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Why not? We can actually start with that. Speaking of which, I have updated the case study with the last part of our website mapping. So I'll demonstrate that. Dina, go ahead.
Good morning.
Good
Could
morning.
you also show I'm making a form
Okay.
and I need people to upload something? Is there a way to upload a document, a PDF or image when you're making the
Absolutely.
form?
Absolutely. Well, yes, the form, yes, and the buttons as well. I'll show you the
Right.
options. We'll double check on the form, but here it will allow me to demonstrate both the video and also the documents. So I'm going to go to the website editor or the marketing section. I'm going to use actually our newsletter as an example. So I'm going to click here on edit. For the first part, the form and uploading. We're going to check that out right away. So you see here, we have a form. It's in place. If I click on it, automatically, it's going to give me the options that we have here. And what we're looking for is the button action option, right? And you can see that you have the option of a PDF. So you see here, Dina, it will ask you,
Awesome.
it will
Awesome.
offer
Yes.
the download. And when you click on download, you will get to upload the document. And on the other end, when the prospect enter information and click on register, they will get to download the document. Good?
Good. Is it only PDF, not image?
Just PDF, unfortunately.
Okay, cool.
Okay,
Thanks.
for now. For your questions, the previous one, the video, when you are here, for example, I'll go to our latest section. When you are looking to embed videos, what you're looking at is using the video content block here. You can click, drag, and drop. And at that point, you have the option here of simply pasting the link of the video, whether it's on Vimeo or YouTube. That's the easiest option. You want to add on to, Robert? You have your hand up? Oh, you're muted, so we can't hear you.
Willie is asking for background video. I'm not sure what he means by that.
Background video, you have the option of doing
He's asking.
so. Yeah, but you have to understand, okay, here I'll do this with the content section. So I'm going to drop a content section here. On any content section in the style option, you have the background option and you can put a video. What it does is it sends it into a loop. I'll show you here. For example, I'm going to grab this link for this tutorial video and I'm going to go back here and in the video option, we'll put the URL of that video. What it's going to do is it's going to create it, make it as a gift. You can see here, it's kind of playing in the background. If I decide to increase a little bit the height, we'll be able to see it. And you'll see that it's going to start acting like a gift, meaning that it's going to go into a loop. You see, so if I publish this preview, so it works the same way in both. You're going to need the video link, whether you add it onto the background as a background gift animation. So it was in the case study here. It draws a lot from the system as well of the users, so keep that in mind if they're in the view on the phone or whatnot. So you see it's taking a little time to load, and then it's going to operate as sort of a gift. It's going to loop for a certain time and then come back.
Yeah, I was going to mention also for Willie, it does slow down load times.
Yeah.
For your website. So just so that you're aware of that.
So be careful about that. Any type of code that you add or action on the background will imply a certain loading time or cookies to be accepted. So keep that in mind as well. Good for that part?
I believe so.
Yep. Any other questions in that regards? No? Okay. So we will go then for the next part. Remember, as I'm progressing to this training, you can always step in with different questions and such on and off topic. We'll try to merge that into the conversation. So last time, the conversation or the question or the case study that was requested was around building an email campaign, but not just an email campaign, an onboarding email campaign. So it implies that we already have set up a strategy for that email campaign. And usually that's the practice or the strategy with which we want to approach an email campaign. We already want to have a specific goal for that email campaign, because everything therein will drive the client or the prospect across that journey, across these steps. Now, as I recommend, always start by drafting your process or putting forward your idea of a platform on a document. Why? Because if you are onboarding, then you're training. If you're training, then you're trying to create a training process, and mapping out the same process that you follow would allow you to share that later on with your intended audience, clients, students, or whatnot. An onboarding process is good for everybody. Sorry, I'm just going to grab a glass of water. An onboarding process is good for everybody, whether you're talking onboarding affiliates or client in your consumer environment, right? So very simply, I'm outlining my thoughts, and this is what I also am going to be sharing with the AI. I have prepared the final document version of this workflow, and it's going to be available in the team section, right? So very simply, I'm speaking to my AI. We're going to be preparing an email campaign for the following. I've outlined my business profile because, again, it always starts with your business profile and simple base instructions, right? I'll be able to share that. I'm just going to copy all this and provide it with the AI. So the idea here is just outline your thought process, whether it's for a product onboarding or a coaching onboarding process. It starts with that structure, aligning your thoughts so that you can start using the AI. Remember, in this space, I am also a newbie in terms of coaching or leading a team. So everything that I'm doing, I'm using the AI to cross-check basically what I'm doing. So you can see the bulk of my text is here. I'm going to give it to the AI. It's going to analyze it, and we're going to start working. At this point, if it doesn't give me my email sequence directly, I'm going to keep probing in that direction. I want a sequence for an onboarding process for this business profile. This business profile, again, to come back to it, is specifically for Nowsite around my AI, the marketing AI, the unlimited AI, and the nav, which are basically the tools that I'm offering. And these are what I'm prompting the AI around. Go ahead, Rita.
Hi, Virgil. My question is,
Hello.
hey, and I love the back office that you created so that we can go through and watch the videos and you prepared the documents. It's a beautiful way to model what we can do. So thank you for
Mhm.
that. Gorgeous. My question is, because that was in French, but it looks like it answered in English.
Oh, what was in French?
Oh, I thought what you,
This is the prompt that I copied. Yeah, you most likely saw previous work here because I do use my account. But yeah, no, the content that I offered is in English.
okay,
So that was the prompt, right? So it's gonna keep on doing this. I did do this prior, right? And it basically elaborated the gist of this campaign here. Okay.
okay.
So constantly working with your AI, that is the most important thing. And then you copy paste the content, right? So at this point, you can see that what I was gunning for, I received, right? It gave me a 5 email sequence. And also going back to my document, I mapped that out, basically mapping out my results. So I keep track of this. One of the things that you notice is that by default, it's going to give me a 5 email campaign, which is basically adhering to the 5 steps again of our sales flow, right? And you'll see the next step at this point is pretty straightforward. I'm going to be copying paste the content of each email in the email editor to create my 5 emails. So far, it's actually pretty straightforward. But what happens next, I think, is where the complication will start generally for everybody or specifically for people who are new to this. So here you can see here, I already created this, but I'm going to draft it anew. So I create an add new. Of course, I'm going to bring in my business profile. Actually, in this case, I'm going to go, no, I want to create it from scratch, right? I'm going to call it here. So my email. Of course, prior to being able to use the email tool, I had to connect at least one email to the platform. We'll review this process for those who haven't. And here at this stage, I can choose to connect it to any of my list. When it's drafted, I will decide to which different lists I can share or make this onboarding part of the conversation. Like I said, the onboarding can be part of many conversation, a client conversation, and an affiliate conversation, right? So this again is our email editor, right? There's not much here. Just going to go back to, I'm going to save and exit. So I have no email in it. I'm just going to go back to my chat. And this is where it's interesting, for example, to have already copied, paste what you're going to get from the AI in terms of sequence so that you don't have to come back to the chat. Here, for example, I'm going to start with the first one. So I copied the first sequence or the first email. I'm going to go back to the email tool. This is the first email. There's nothing here. Add new. Perfect. Here, for example, oh, sorry, building it myself. So here, this is the raw editor. And the editor for the email works the same way as it does for the website editor. The only difference is that we have lesser options. We have footer settings that we should use. So for branding, Facebook and such. Remember last time the conversation that I had around building trust. So having your email, your Facebook icons ready to be visited is another way of giving more credentials, more trust in the email that people will receive. It might even help some of the spams because it will acknowledge all that. I'm pretty sure that the computer behind the emails are that performant. So here, click, drag, drop the text option, edit, okay, and Control V to paste. I'm going to take out what I don't need. But one of the things here that I wanted to bring to mind is what the AI or what the text is having us do here. Okay, this is very important. The content that is shared should basically bring certain things to mind already, meaning I am going to be prompting the person to take action to onboard. It means that there's going to be some assets that I'm going to be asked to put forward or expected to share, right? In this one, for example, what it's asking us is a booking link, right? If I'm going to onboard somebody, if they have purchased the campaign, the products from me, or they have adhered to an offer, then definitely I should at least make it available for them to meet me. After that, after the first time they have acquired basically the tool. Here, what I did, if you notice, I just basically started filling out the information for the email name. So first email is going to be the welcome email. It had provided me with the subject as well. So I'm going to take the subject here as well, right? So I'm just copying and pasting, taking things out here. Okay. So I have my first email. Of course, here it's offering booking links. So this is where any booking link, any information, any asset that I would prepare would come into play. It's also giving me the codes here, the merge tags. So for example, I would want the person to be contacted by the first name. So I'm just going to copy paste this in place. Nope, sorry. Control V. Okay, same thing here, right? It would be good for me if I'm going to call you by your first name, then I'm going to offer also my name at least. All right. So you see at the end, what you're doing is really replacing simple things here. Okay. Here, same thing. If you want a video, you are able to add the video the same way we did by adding the video to the website with the link, and it will appear. Okay. Okay. And of course, the text gives you the option, right, of adding the text gives you option of adding hyperlinks. As you can see here, I can click the hyperlink, and with my Calendly link, in this case, what I'll do is I'll refer them to, I have a contact section. No, I didn't have a contact section here. Okay, I'll bring them to my about here for the home tab. And that is definitely something that should bring to mind a series of questions of what we're going to need to prepare next. Why? Because we're going to need to start thinking about assets all the way through the process of this exercise. We're going to need to be referring them to take specific action. Here, for example, I added a button and, oops, sorry. Now, I have a base email. And of course, I know that I'm going to be repeating the sequence here. So already what I can do is duplicate my series of email. So I have my 5 emails. And of course, what I'll be doing is renaming and copying pasting. So I have a structure in place, and I know the strategy that I'm following since the conversation will be what basically I have been asked to do here, right? This gave me a different arrangement, so I'm just going back to the previous one, okay? But it's the same process, right? And you notice one thing, the first email here, I'm just gonna increase this so that you get to see and read a little bit. You can see that the first email, we were offering 1 booking link, right? And the second email, we are offering more than 1 link, right? And it's going to go into that process each time. So naturally, the next question here, for me to prepare myself properly for an email process or an email onboarding, the next question would be, well, I need to align my campaign objective with a call to action in my email. And what I need is basically what are the best training assets to prepare, a link, a recommendation. What exactly am I going to be including as part of that email strategy as it unfolds to guide a person to the different resources that I have, to the different training process that I created, to what is available. Okay, and I think this is where really the rubber will meet the road for most of us, because now we're going to start looking at the list of the assets that we have to prepare. So that email, one after the other, will drive them across a learning path, a prospect journey, a learning curve. Does that make sense for everybody so far? Okay. And you can see here, for example, it gave me a list. First, general conversation content. So interactive guide and tutorial, right? Webinar sessions, case studies and success stories, right? Remember also is that this might feel overwhelming for those who are beginning, but you don't have necessarily to create all of those at the beginning. This is why community resources or team environment resources or going through the process of discovering what your opportunity offers as training content and resources are important. Because at first, when you're drafting these email content, for example, interactive guide and tutorials, well, you know that Nowsite has a calendar with quick start tutorials that they can take care, that they can use. I could use this as an asset, right? I know that the process by which we can get bookings once we have Nowsite as a tool, I can use that as part of this process, right? Webinar sessions, we have our Now 2 sessions. I can use that. The case study that we create here, I can make them part of my learning curve. So at the beginning, we don't necessarily need to create all these assets. As long as we ourselves have taken the time to take note of what we have used to gain an understanding of the tool or to map out our own learning process or own learning curve, we can come back and share these in sequence as well. Okay, this is important. To that effect, when I was drafting the tool or drafting this presentation, this is something that, again, came to mind. And I was like, okay, well, it makes sense that everybody would want to go back into their library now, as we have been doing, and looking at our marketing assets, looking at these funnels, looking at these landing pages that we have created, what they say, what they're meant to share at that point, and where do they fall into these links, right? And you'll notice also that we have basically a set of marketing asset that it will ask you to create. Interactive tutorial. I'm going to have a landing page with all the tutorials that we have there and a way to connect me. Video demonstration, weekly webinar. It can be one website. For example, our newsletter is a good example of that. One newsletter that gives you basically different tabs adhering to all these different links that we need, right? So you should have a marketing asset, at least one marketing asset that has all of these different learning assets that you would see fit to explain or share with your audience and make that part of your email sequence strategy. This also is important for ourselves if we are looking at being coaches or even just learning through different process. It's important to start understanding also the difference between a learning cycle and a learning curve just for ourselves, right? So for example, I'm just going to reduce this just to show you. I am not, again, a coach. So I asked the AI here, or the question was, well, what is the learning cycle or the learning curve that I should expect? Or at least I will map out my own learning cycle, learning curve. Okay, which is what I've done here. Generally, you want to get an introduction to the environment. If there's a community, if there's support, this is where you want to start so that when you're on your own, orientation, right? I took that as my process as we all have gone to school. First day orientation, we show you the lay of the land, show you where the library is, show you where the resources are, show you where the support system for the teacher is. And then on the second part, we start leveling where your where your objectives are, where your skill levels are, and which are your interests, especially in this Nowsite environment where we have three set of tools that ultimately do the same thing or work together. But when people come into this space, they come in at a different level of skill or interest, right? So the second part of the learning cycle, or I would say the learning curve at this point, because this is a learning curve more than anything, then we would get into, okay, identifying what is the interest and lining up that interest with the objective and the tools, and start the training and practicing cycles or process. Once you have that, the third part is, well, if you have learned something, you're able to execute it, you're able to yourself understand the different steps that you're taking to do so, which leads you to organizing your approach, which leads you into the field and coming back into the lab to seeing what worked or what not, right? So this is what I thought was my own learning process or learning curve or expected learning cycles. I mapped it for my understanding. And then I did ask the AI again, what basically was the cycle? Okay, that I invite you guys to really do that. Why? Because it allows yourself to, if you are just in the process learning, it allows yourself to better assess how you learn, how you progress. If you're creating something for others, then you add at least that roadmap that can become your prospect journey, which is often enough the question that we have here. Okay, what is the prospect journey here? Well, this is what the AI gave me. Awareness is the first part. Understanding the knowledge and acquisition is the second part. Third part is getting into the practice. And fourth, the mastering, right? It gave me something different than what I expected, but still in line, right? We have that welcome. We need to be introduced. We have the process where we make the knowledge ours, or we match our intention with the knowledge that we're seeking. We try it, and then we come back and revise it. Okay, so this is important. I think thinking about it now, when I reached the end of the exercise, I figured that this was actually the first part, should have been the first part of the exercise, understanding, okay, what is the learning cycle that I'm going to be taking these people, the learning cycle that I'm going to be taking these people through, because it's going to be a revolving door for people that come in and come out or stay in the cycle. And then I have to understand also the expected learning curve for people that come in here, depending on their levels, right? This is a conversation that I think is meant for beginners or generally for everybody, since it implies a conversation process where we will be able to better orient people depending on where they want to go. Make sense so far? The rest after that, truly in the mechanics of it, is just coming back and filling in the blanks. So in this case, for example, I did the first one. I would go for my second email. I would copy the content, paste it there, but then comes in the assets. Which asset am I referring to at this first last part? When I did this prior to this demonstration, I'll go back to the email. I made this email draft a part of the asset that are offered in the team section. You can see what I did here is that I did a 5-day training with the end a meeting. So it's an onboarding. We're going to welcome you to the tool. We're going to have you discover the first part, which is the My AI. I put in a video for the My AI quick text. Since I'm going to be sharing the template, I didn't put in some links here. Only the Learn More has the invitation to discover the My AI tool. At least by default, each one of these email will have a call to action to go discover the specific tool, marketing, unlimited, and then nav. But the body of the work here will be hinting to that conversation, that specific training asset for the My AI, for the marketing, for the unlimited, for the nav. And the last is basically making sure that we do meet so that I can see at which level of your learning cycle you are, how much of the learning curves you have gone through, and whether or not we need to meet more often than less often. I've set up basically the specific journey at that point for each one that comes in for their evaluation. Make sense? Perfect. So in essence, we are doing this with 3 prompts, right? The first one helps set the email sequence based on our business conversation, based on our business intent as well for the campaign. Okay. The second one, if we are not prepared, technically coming into the first one, we should already have those how, because in the end, they fall into that part of our conversation. I'm going to be offering an onboarding system for those who are starting up, and this is how they get through it. All these links, sequence, and such of the process, the how. So technically, I should be coming in already with that in mind. But if not, well, this is how we start at beginners. We want to start with our business conversation here. Basically, I grabbed this, and from this, I laid forward the prompt. I want to create an email sequence to onboard a new prospect into this environment for the following tools: the My AI, the marketing AI, the unlimited AI, and our nav system, along with making them discover our community and support. And from that point on, I have my email sequence. Of course, brings us back to when we prompt the AI for answers, we have the obligation of making these answers ours, going through the content, understanding what basically we are being prompted to do every step of the way, and matching the call to action. Because email is a strategy, right? We follow through either for retention or for conversion. And one thing is, the stronger your retention process is, the stronger your acquisition process will become as well. Remember, acquisition is the first part where we acquire the email. Technically, we have passed the acquisition for this email to be sent out, this email campaign. So we're either looking at a conversion, meaning I want you to start with one of the plans and gradually upgrade to the other plans. So these are our conversion emails, but at the same time, these emails are also serving a retention process by showing you how to use the tool, getting you into the exercise of using the tool, but also exposing you to the community, right? And remember, if at the beginning of our offer, we say, take the time to start or join our community for more resources and support as you prepare yourself for the journey. Well, we've made our initial moral exchange stronger by letting them know that there's a support system that follows the opt-in, the acquisition, the conversion, the retention, the after-sales service is already there, and it's used in the forefront to give more value to our offer. Remember last time we spoke about pre-positioning value in our offers or positioning value in our offers. Well, this is it. If time is the value that I offer and I show you that I'm available to coach you, I'm available to guide you, I took the time to create a simple form onboarding process to make your immersion, your onboarding quicker and save you time. I'm giving you back that value again, right? So you understand that by creating these retention strategy ahead of time, you actually are strengthening your acquisition process, making conversion a lot easier. Make sense? I threw in a lot of technical words that we covered last time, but they're straightforward in what we're doing. Last time we spoke about the difference between website, sales funnel, and landing page. And I explained that the sales funnel beyond the asset was a strategy where we are doing three things. We're trying to acquire the email of that person at capture to create that long-term relationship. So already our acquisition is also in tune with our retention strategy. Once we have acquired, we try to convert. And once we have converted, we have the obligation to retain. Go ahead, Howard.
Hey, so Virgil, after we do our email sequence, okay, there's no trigger to tell us the email sequence is over and done with.
Well, we have to keep track of the time frame that we have set ourselves.
Hey, Virgil, Virgil, listen to me. Look at so say you've got 6,000 to 7,000 contacts. There's not enough time in the world to keep track of all those contacts. So really, what would be very good here, and what other systems like this have, is it allows you to toggle who do you want the email to go to. And so the last email that goes, you can have it go to yourself with the person's name, and you can say, hey, this email sequence has ended. Okay, and then we know to go in and deal with it. But after, like, I mean, if you've got 10 contacts, everything you're saying is 100% true. Okay, if you've got 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 contacts, it's totally not manageable. Okay, and that would be something maybe you could plug Justin with or whatever. And I understand that this isn't high on his list of things that he wants to do, but this would really make it a lot easier for all of us that actually try to use the system.
I understand where you're coming from and what you're aiming at, but you also have to understand that this tool and the way it's crafted and aimed at is for mass emailing. Right? If you're looking technically at a more hands-on type tool to deal with each one of your customers, because again, in all fairness, if you are at the level where you have 7,000 active customers that you're handling, then you're no longer looking at a marketing system, but it's a whole different level of CRM, client relationship and individual maintenance that you're looking for. Here, what we're looking at is a marketing asset that is part of our rollout strategy. You have a list of 7,000 people. If you're using this tool, is to see how much of that list will convert to your call to action. And if we're applying the basic matrix or numbers of the marketing, well, the ones that I choose to use are 3%, meaning that if I have a list of 7,000 prospects, not converted clients,
Yep.
7,000 prospects, if I'm probing for that, that number in terms of reaction will drop. If these are acquired client with which I have an ongoing relationship, then if I'm using a marketing tool for client relationship management, it's different than this level of tool. So that is where basically you have to understand where we are with this tool. Definitely, there's always going to be some improvement to the tool. How soon they align with your specific objective for this use, I can't say.
Yeah, you know
Make
what
sense?
happens in real life, Virgil, is that you start emailing people, not everybody converts. And so say you've got them on a 10 email drip or a 15 email drip. After
Mhm.
that, they're just sitting in your database and you don't have a clue at all what's going on with them because there's too many.
Yeah.
And so it's wasted. They're wasted clients.
Well,
So what I'm trying to do is
Mhm.
solve one of my problems in life. So I have to take all my contacts out of Nowsite, put them in a different platform where I can see that the drip has ended, so I can go in and start a drip again. And that's a lot of work. And we're a software company, so we should be able to make that really, really easy.
Well, again, it really depends on how you are planning on using the tool, right? The strategy around the use of your tool is, okay, I want to be able to do this way, but the process that we offer is different. For example, when you're running a campaign, the idea is that you're also looking at measuring the conversion of this campaign. If I'm running a campaign to 7,000 clients and I'm not getting the conversion rate that I want, yes, there are a lot of possibilities that this is going to spam, that the people are not opening it. So I'm going to keep on running that campaign until I get a reaction, whether people unsubscribe, meaning they opt out, or they opt in, right? But what you're trying to do is ultimately go beyond this process, fine-tuning this campaign. So you're not going to be running this campaign all over each time. You're going to do it for a quarter, come back, assess the result, adjust, and then run a new campaign updated with these results to maximize the conversion. If
But
you're just
I still have
sorry.
to go in and tag all the contacts again. And in my
Well,
life,
no, because the list, this is where we've discussed this type of conversation. I think it would be good to book a meeting, Howard, so we can discuss how
okay,
this
sure.
strategy, the email is used. Because here, this is what it is. Again, coming back to what I was putting forward in the process of acquiring, converting, and retaining. Technically, in your CRM, for each one of your activity, you should have 3 lists. The first list, it's a general list. It's where I'm trying to acquire, depending on where this list came from. If it's a list that, like for example, you have this 7,000 list and you want to see how much of that list you want to convert, well, this is the base list. It's the general list. The idea is that when you're emailing that list, you're trying to get them to opt in into something, which brings them from that general pool where they're all there to a specific list, the conversion list. And this is where the matrix of numbers starts popping in. Because if I have 7,000 people and I know that the ratio of conversion is 3 to 10%, when I'm doing this via email, I understand only a small percentage of that to convert. And from that point, I have a specific list of people that I'm now addressing because they have opt-in, that I'm now bringing into that second phase of or third phase of conversation, which is the retention process. Usually, retention emails can be automated for a long time. Why? Coming back to what we are doing here, if we have established a training process. We're not going to be revamping this training process every quarter. It's going to hold for as long as it needs. And at that point, I can leave that, because the idea also is going through that process. At the end, as I explained, I'm having them take action. So the idea is that me going through the client at the end of this cycle is the client coming back to me. And the matrix here of a review is that if I'm running this campaign over and over and nobody's booking this meeting, it's two-case scenario. Either these people are excelling at this onboarding process and I can see the results, nothing but 10s and A's in my team. Otherwise, it's not going through. And not only they're not succeeding, but they're not booking. I have to come back and revamp this email for the purpose that it was made for.
Yeah.
So everything that we're go ahead.
Yeah, I'll book a training time with you. or
Yes,
study
yeah,
time with
yes.
you, and so I don't take up your time in the meeting.
Yeah, I think it would be best. It's a good share. It's a good question that you have, because I'm pretty sure that more than just yourself had this conversation in mind. How do I make sense of this tool? And this is also why you have to understand that email strategy, Howard, is only part of it. Because the idea here, and this is why we've made so much improvement, and this is why Justin is more concerned with this part of the new tool, because the real conversation, the real interaction, the real engagement starts on social media, and how well you can conversate with these people. The rest of the email is usually information, and it also has a set of hoops that you have to go through to make sure that it ends up where it needs to in the inbox and does engage the person. By contacting somebody on social media and saying, hey, I see that we have the same interest. Here's a link. And also I sent you an email. Check it out. I've given you 3 options. Not only can you see my social media profile, trust. Not only can you see this link, but now you will have a command. I've sent you an email. You have a prompt to go take a look at your inbox or your spam to see. Especially if the conversation started on social media, at which point did you get my email? Either I offered it and you took advantage of it, thank you, or you did your job and found it. In all case scenario, we need to talk, especially if the interests are lined up, okay? So very important, we'll talk about your strategy in terms of where the focus is or should be. And in terms of emails, we also have discussed how we can use our analytic to go over this. I think it's being revamped, so we'll come back to that. But we have the analytic as well that will be coming back. It was there, allows us to review the overall impact of our campaigns or of our marketing approach. But in the end, your call to action will determine the impact. Because if you're sending out there an email to say, book me, and nobody's booking, I need to review this email strategy. I need to review the sequence. I need to review even the targeting. Because it might be that it's well crafted, but just not going in the right direction to the right audience. Make sense?
Sometimes in my life, what happens is that it takes the person 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 emails before they respond. They don't respond in my first 3. And so I really need an easy system to continue to drip on these guys. And I guess I'm just not getting it, but I'll call you, set an appointment.
Definitely. And we'll take a look at all the engagement after the first email. For example, if you're noticing, have you opted into our nav system?
Yeah, I have. But nav is pretty new here, and so I'm still tied into a lot of email
It's
stuff.
great. It's great. I recommend take a look at our previous conversation, because this is where your solution is. How to improve the turnover or the relationship that you're creating. If you're going to bring a prospect in and make them part of a sales email campaign, since you have their information, you should be also reaching out on social media. And that allows you to create that contact, because where you took 3 emails to get in touch with me, maybe the first one went to spam. Maybe the second one, I saw it, didn't react. The third one brushed it up. The fourth one started getting annoying and say, well, let me see who this is, because it is in my inbox, right? And you could cut that time by a direct message. Hey, I sent you an email. This is my name. This is why I'm doing so. Take a look, and the time, if you're free, to connect, forcing that conversation. Go ahead, Robert.
Well, something to add that might help Howard and everybody else that's watching and listening.
Mhm.
And I'm probably going to mess up on some of the percentages, but I know I'm pretty accurate on this. It is going to take more than 3 attempts when you go and reach out to people. I believe it's 1% of the people will sign up on the very first meeting, which is very rare. You have to have your campaign set, you have to know what you're doing. I believe it goes to 3 to 5% on the second, 7% on the third, 10% on the fourth or fifth. But then when it comes to that 8th to 12th contact, it increases all the way up to 80%. So that being said, you need to consider if you're running an email campaign, I would have it anywhere from 8 to 12 emails long within those email campaigns, just like what Virgil's talking about. Give them different ways that they can communicate with you or reach out to connect. Also, have your booking links in there, but you're approaching it from different angles so that they eventually get off of that list. So I'm not really so much concerned with how many people have gone through it because I can go look at the campaign and say, okay, well, I sent 1,000 people through this, maybe 5 or 10 signed up, the rest didn't. I've still got that list, like Virgil's saying. Okay, well, let's go back, let's reinvestigate, see what happened, look at the numbers, look at the data, make adjustments, and then boom, shoot out another email campaign to that exact same list again.
Mhm.
Right. So just some food for thought. But yeah, you're gonna have to send multiple emails,
Yeah.
and you're better off, as Virgil was saying, to have a conversation with them, because the moment that you have a conversation with them versus having emails, your percentages are going to go up a lot higher when it comes to actually getting that person on board and building that relationship and everything else. It's difficult to build a relationship through an email. And if you are shooting emails out, highly, highly recommend that you use video within those emails so that people do get the chance to know who you are.
The presentation. Even
So
for
I trust
example,
that helps.
even for example, when we are following the sales flow, if this was strictly an email conversation, you would notice that we are really looking to actually make a connection, so get a response around the booking option. Because the first email would be a hello, the second email, okay, I'm still looking to build rapport. This is who I am. This is what I'm trying to present. This is how you can connect. This is how you can follow up. But you can see that in the sequence of the sales flow, we're really expecting a strong engagement at the booking rate. So if you're doing this via email, you're going to expect a reaction most likely, like you said, around the third or fourth. But if you're engaging with them here, you can speed up this process, right? And you want to include social media as being part of your marketing dynamics. Simple fact. Email as it is and has come to be known was effective in the past, highly effective in the past. Why? Because it was the only means of communication that we had beyond paper trail. How do I get my email? It's faster. I'm going to get this email. It's faster than mail delivery. But over the years, we are giving our email freely because we're able to get on social media, get on all these platforms, get all these free services. Our offer, our moral offer in multi-level, in this space is an email trade, right? So people are using their email differently than they were 10 years ago. So the rate that they go there and check, open, go through, the setup securities that they've put in place have gone up. So the result that you get by just doing massive email is not the same that you're getting 5 or 10 years ago. This is why social media is coming through. For example, I've turned off the email notification on my phone, but the social media notifications are on, meaning that if you send me a social media, I get that ping. If you send me an email, I don't. Right? So that should raise a lot of options in your head here, because the whole, for example, conversation around SMS marketing is also falling into the same category as email. The idea of SMS is I send you an SMS, you get a ping, you react. But now again, People are offering their telephone numbers or protecting their telephone numbers. However, they're expecting a ping on social media. So I can turn off my phone ringer, I can turn off my email, but I still have my social media notification on. Why? Because I'm expecting these pings. I want people to like what I posted. I expect somebody to send me a message. So I'm more reactive to that. Include that in your strategy. You will see that your email response rate will increase. And by the way, if you have a list of 7,000 people, but you have one client opting into your offer, well, client management relationship would have you take this name, run it through your database, pull him out of the list from where he is, the general list, and move him to a converted list because the level of interaction has gone beyond general. It's now personal. Is in the list of converted people with which you have a conversation ongoing. Go ahead, Ariel. Ariel.
Comment ça va? How are you?
Très bien, et toi?
Ariel here. Fantastic, fantastic.
How's Montreal treating you?
Listen,
Mhm.
I'm so happy to see you. I don't watch news anymore. Not anymore for me. That made me
Oh,
so happy. Anyway,
pleasure.
what I'm trying to, oh, my dog is happy too, you see. What I'm trying to ask you is how do you block your emails that you don't get so much email?
Well, it's based on the preference, right? Because, for example, when you're setting up your email account, at the beginning, they'll start asking you, what do you like? What are your preference? Right? Based on that, you're telling the AI for the email, I want this to come in or not to come in. That's the simplest format. Of course, there's deeper settings. You can go into the Gmail setting and start looking at different preference and such. Make sense?
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay,
The
okay.
deeper,
Thank you very much. Nice to
the
see you. À la
our
prochaine.
pleasure. Prochaine.
Thank you,
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome. So keep that in mind. For me, the most important thing in terms of email conversation or in terms of prospecting is making sure that when I am pulling prospect or when I'm looking at prospect, the interest and the skills and the job title, I would say, are clearly in line. Why? Because it's the easiest way to make sure that I grab your attention. If I talk to you about the job that you're doing or your skills or your interests, we're there in the conversation realm, right? If I talk to things that don't interest you, don't concern you, it's a harder sell normally. Okay, so that's the basic thing. If I'm sending out content to a marketer, I want to make sure that these interests are highlighted because most of the time, coming back to the email, these are the things that they are allowing to come in. These are the things that they want to come in. Make sense? Questions?
Yeah.
Okay, good, good, good. So again, very simply, be concerned with the basic way to optimize yourself across the platform when you're drafting your conversation here is to keep those values in mind. What exactly am I offering? Who exactly am I targeting? How is this supposed to be rolled out? Because in that, as you can are you coming to understand, there's deeper values, right? In my onboarding process, what are the different things that I need to offer? How does do my client go from the A to B? Because this is part of that conversation. Who is this client and what type of A to B are they looking at? Okay. You'll notice that I made a little bit of conversation piece around the learning curve and the learning cycle. And I think it's important for us to all to understand. If we're going to coach somebody, we need to understand what is their learning curve. So what does it mean, the learning curve? But then beyond the learning curve, there's a learning cycle, right? Because the learning cycle are things that I'm going to repeat to move me or move myself across a learning path, and that could imply a greater learning process. For example, how do I learn to use the Nowsite tool. First, I need to make sure that I sign in properly. I need to set myself up. I need to use it recurrently, because out of that will come questions that will move me to the next part of the learning curve, marketing. All right. Often enough, I say the My AI tool is the greatest tool to start, but it's also the end of the loop, because when we start out, we come here with conversation that we want to promote. As we progress, we understand that through this conversation, we're positioning strategy, marketing assets. All right. And through that, we basically are establishing a system for greater rollout, which brings us to the unlimited and the prospecting and such. Okay, so everything starts and progress in sequence. Let's understand what is happening here at the conversation point, because we will keep coming back to that, to what it is we're offering, who it is we're offering it to, and how it's being rolled out. Look, simply put, the nav is bringing us back to that. Who we are talking to and how we are prompting them to start the journey with us to convert, how we are tracking their progression across our sequence. Good for everybody?
Absolutely great stuff, man. I think it's another successful meeting, brother. Good job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So everything that next time, tomorrow, give me a feedback on how you find the navigation into the team section. I've put basically the website tab for the website content, the prospecting content. And for what we just discussed, I put forward an email document. So the general onboarding process that you want to keep in mind, list of suggested asset that you would want to keep in mind, and this whole training that we covered is here. Okay, so take a look at it. Let me know if it navigates easier, and I will adjust. For those who have Nowsite, I also shared the websites and that email template. Of course, you need to update the links that are suggested should be part of that. Good for everybody? And again, take a look at the case study. If there's more to be added in terms of the website and the architecture, I will. And when I'm done here, I'll add another one for what we just discussed, the email process, emphasizing on the preparation before any campaign. Good? Perfect. Go ahead.
Thank
I
you.
have a question about that, the content that you just shared. Have you
Mhm.
thought about like what's the difference between doing what you're doing as courses instead
Well,
of just putting them in the pages?
the courses would imply one thing, that I want people to opt in into into a deeper process, right? And also the verification, right? If I'm offering courses, I want to make sure that you are following them if you're opting into them. Of course, because there's going to be some kind of payment exchange. So my due diligence as the offer, I have to make sure that I repeatedly make sure that I evaluate you to the end. So it's just a deeper strategy. If it's free courses, for me, it amounts to the same thing. You're just offering them as content. There's a little bit more organization involved with the course, because I can say they can look at the first course, here are the documents and such. You know what? Now that you mention it, I'm going to try to organize I will organize the website template into a course format, and we'll get to see where it takes us. I'm going to have to go to Vimeo for that one instead of YouTube. Okay, I'll try that.
Well, no, you can use both. You could use Vimeo or YouTube for the
Yeah,
course.
YouTube, it does more for the free option, right? But I think with Vimeo, you get a little bit more control over the access. I'm going to try to see, since I'm familiar with the YouTube, I'll try to see what that environment brings me. I'll see.
Right. But thank you, because you actually talked through what I wanted you to see was that you are doing courses. And I think as far as organization of it, my feedback would be, it looks like your content would be better in the course section.
Course section. Okay, I'll build upon that. I was taking my time to get to that course section, but yeah, I'll do that and we'll review that part as well.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome training as usual.
Oh, thank you. Then let me know if the documents also make sense as as I am crafting them, so that way I can review them and optimize them if required. Okay. See you tomorrow. Have a great day for the rest.